All right, guys, today is Sunday, October 9th, 2022. So my deadline was the 8th, finish my 55 hardtop, which you probably figured out by now, didn't happen. It was the point of 30-minute jobs were taking 3, 4, or 5 hours. So it ended up being a fiasco is what it ended up being. I never rushed. I never got into a rush. I took my time and actually finished. If something didn't work right, it needed work, I just kept working on it till it was meant. So it's not ready. It doesn't. I didn't do any interior work yet. I didn't even get to that point of it. It was a hard ride, let me tell you. Anyway. So I still got the bumper to put on, the lower air dam, which I have to paint. I've got it. I did finished the block sanding and the putty work, and then re-primed it. Now it needs to be wet sanded and shot. And then of course I need to do the hood. It still needs finish work. But it is, it's pretty much mostly a complete body at this point. Well, missing interior and a hood. I still got to wire up the front. It turned out awesome, man. I love it. I ended up doing lots of other work that wasn't on the schedule. This door had to be completely wet sanded and re-buffed again. This is the one that I buffed through or sanded through, I don't remember. And I resprayed the outside door skin. And I only waited like 2 or 3 days, and then I wet sanded it and buffed it. So that paint shrunk up because the car sat outside for a few days in the direct sunlight on this side of the car, and I know that paint got good and hot. Anyway, it tightened up. It looked really bad, so I had to sand it and buff it. The top rear section of the car back here, top of the quarters and along the rear deck area back there, I had to resand and polish that from buffing it 2 years ago. It had tightened up, had some blemishes in it, so I wet sanded it and buffed it back out. I put tape around the edge of the trunk lid, and for whatever reason, the tape messed up the paint. So I had to go in and wet sand and buff the edge of the trunk lid edge all the way around. So it was just going backwards before I could go forwards type of thing. But I fit everything, and like the trim, everything fits awesome. I made sure all the belt line moldings, they all line up. Even this part right here where it meets the windshield molding, that lines up. Both sides. Check out these gaps. Look at that fender to door. Then up here I got a little bit wider of a gap so the hood has plenty of clearance. It turned out freaking sweet, man. I'm in love with it. I spent a full day lining up the front clip, tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it until it was perfect. This is a very, very well gapped car. It's amazing how you can gap one, take it all apart, take it back off the frame and everything. And I used my new body mounts when I bolted it down first when I did all my mock-up. And I numbered the body mounts, put them right back in, and I still had issues lining up stuff. Not terrible issues, but you know, I had a little tweaking here and there. But again, the trim comes around, meets perfectly. This one meets perfectly. It's awesome, man. I love it. Whew, it was a lot of work. Had a few issues, actually quite a few issues. So when I mocked up this car, I just mocked up the grill. I didn't mock up the new grill surround from Dan Chuck. That was a mess. So I had to end up notching holes and everything and putting washers in behind these corner pieces at the bottom to shim it out, because the corner pieces were trying to roll in at the bottom and the bottom piece wouldn't line up. And they're both Dan Chuck parts. But that's their original grill, and they retooled a new one. May have got tired of people griping, I don't know, but it was a mess. And then I've got, these are modified headlight buckets, and the headlight fits back inside the bezel instead of being bug-eyed. If you ever notice these cars, the headlights stick way out on them. I actually mounted the bucket behind the fender Oh, this was a funny story. So I went to put my lower splash apron on, and it hit the bottom of the radiator. So I had to move my radiator back, which shredded a bunch of paint and caused a bunch of other issues that I've got to correct. This is pretty funny. I got back when I got ready to paint a bunch of parts for this car, this trim black stuff. I could not find this hood latch brace. Couldn't find it. So I went and dug in my shed, found another one, drilled some speed holes in it, body worked it, primered it, sanded it, and painted it with the other stuff. When I went to bolt it on the car, it was a little short. See the length difference? That's for a 56, I'm assuming. So I have a treasure trove of Tri-5 parts out there, and I would have never guessed I had off a different model car out there. You know what I mean? So it kind of sucks I didn't make the show, but I kind of knew I wasn't going to make it. Most of you guys probably knew I wasn't going to make it. It was just the fact of me getting out here and busting my ass on this car. There was one day when I went over, I was dragging, man. I walked over and checked my phone, and it was 6:15 a.m. I worked all day and all night to 6:15 a.m. I walked into the house. I didn't want to make any noise and wake up my wife. And I went into the living room to our big area rug. I used my sweatshirt as a pillow, and I just laid down on the floor and went to sleep. So she come in there about 6:45, kicking me, telling me to get up. So I ended up getting 4 hours of sleep, and the dog woke me up, and I just got up and stayed up. After that, I come back out here. But man, it was a lot of work I put in, and to not get the car done, it's kind of amazing that I didn't get that far. But the end result is fit and finish, and everything is, man, I mean, it just turned out way, way better. I mean, the rocker panel meets the fenders and the gaps the same everywhere. It's just awesome. It's a lot of work, body work, metal work to get these cars to do that. It's not perfect. It's got flaws, and only I know where they are. Well, some people probably spot a few of them, but I don't really care. I'm to the point now, I just want to drive the car. I don't really care anymore. So tomorrow I'm going to be routing my wiring. I got to jack the car up, take this wheel off, because my wiring runs up inside the inner fender and through a hole through a grommet underneath the core support, where I've got bolts welded upside down in there to bolt on loom clamps for the wires to be hidden. So a little bit of that to do. I need to route my heater hoses. I got a thing over here to bolt it to the inner fender. I got to modify my bracket that holds my coolant overflow tube there. There's a bracket. I got to take it off and notch it, and because I had to move the radiator, it kind of screwed some things up. It's dark outside. It's I don't know, probably 8 p.m. at night, so I'm gonna go take a shower, and I'm gonna get some well-deserved sleep, man. But at this point, you know, a couple more days of work, and I can actually drive it around my housing addition. I need to finish wiring it up, get the radiator finished, buttoned up, and I still need to finish tuning that carburetor. I mess with the metering jets and stuff, and I still need to put a time and light on it. I got it pretty close with my ear, but anyway, it just needs work, man. It needs some tweaking, and then I need to get it to where I can actually drive it around the housing addition a little bit and see what other tweaks I got to do. Transmission pan gasket's dripping, so it's I'm gonna have to change that seal. I got to align the front end, which I'm gonna do myself. But anyway, I guess that's enough. I just keep walking around the car, and you guys have already seen it. You get the idea of it. Didn't make the show. No biggie. I almost got a complete car out of the deal, though, so I'll take that any day of the week, man. So anyway, sorry I didn't do any videos. I kind of became a recluse and just stayed in the garage. There was people calling, texting, "You gonna make it?" and all this. People stopping by. When people stop by and they're here for an hour, 2, 3 hours, I don't get no work done. So it got to one point where I had to keep the garage door closed and just stay in here. But man, I'm glad I got it to where it is. It was worth the pain and suffering I went through in my body, because I am sore, man. I am very sore. But again, I just about got a complete car out of the deal. Thanks for watching.